Journal Line. Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to Rangers Journal. So, today we're here to talk about Russell Martin and, more importantly, Rangers Football Club as on a wider scale of things, I think it's more appropriate. So, I think enough's enough. Yesterday we watched our team get beat 2-0 by Hearts at Ibrox, let's be honest. Wasn't it just a result? Wasn't it just a result at Hurt? It was the manner of it, the lack of fight, lack of belief, the lack of Rangers standards. This isn't what this football club stands for. It's not the Rangers way. We've been patient, especially us at Rangers Journal. We've backed the process and the short-term pain and all that, having this guy in charge. We've listened to board tell us he was a man to lead us forward, but it's just the same problems all over again. Same performances, same excuses over and over. Home fans turn up, but not just the home fans, the away fans as well, turn up week in, week out, fill the stadiums, win, lose or draw, back this team with everything they've got, but what they're getting back. Where's the leadership for the men at the top? Where's the accountability from the people who made this appointment? Where's the standard that says second best, or should I say right now 10th best, is not good enough for Rangers Football Club? This isn't about one game, one defeat, one bad afternoon. This is about the direction of our club. This is about ambition. This is about the future. Because this message is clear. We demand better. We demand change. We demand a manager who will bring a fire back to Ibrox, who's going to set some standards, who's going to wear a suit in a dugout without getting sweaty. Make sure every single player knows what it means to pull on that shirt. It shouldn't take a finally angry tavernier in a post-conference for us to be able to relate to something that's going on with inside that club. It's time to stop accepting mediocrity. It's time to stop waiting for things to magically click. It's time to get Russell Martin out the door. And I'm sorry to say this, but I'm now calling for Patrick Stewart to leave the club as well, because he done the same with Philippe Clement after Queen's Park. We waited an extra couple of weeks and nothing changed. It was the same result. So let's talk about why it's got to change, what needs to happen next, and how we're going to get Rangers Football Club back to where it belongs. And to do that, I'm thankful for my esteemed panel that's turned up. Ross, how you doing, mate?
Can be better. Let's be brutally honest. I think that it's the inevitable's coming, hopefully sooner rather than later. But we'll get through it. We always do.
That's it. Chris, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having us, Scotty. I was expecting to wake up this morning and see the headlines that he's gone. I was expecting it last night, mate. The fact it's not come is, as far as I'm concerned, sheer incompetence from Thelwell and Patrick Stewart. I'm sure we'll get into that, but every minute longer he's here, it's just going to make it worse, in my opinion, for Rangers at the moment.
100%. And Stu, I'm assuming you're rocking up with a hangover, going by your title down below me.
Oh, mate. Oh, it's real, man. It is real. I actually blame Russell Martin for it as well, because I wasn't going to have a whiskey until that score. So he's ruined my club, he's ruined my day yesterday, and he's ruined my day today, because he's made me have a few whiskies yesterday.
Fair enough. Ross, I'll come to you. I am. Same, mate. Same as ever. Buzzing to be in a good mood about Rangers, no? Ross, I'm going to come to you first. How do we go about changing this? Just give me your initial thoughts on the whole situation. We'll start with that. We'll start with everybody's thoughts. Ross?
It's miserable, and what's probably made it more all-encompassing is the fact it was predictable. Russell Martin's been in charge for 101 days, and 100 days ago we could have all stood here and went, "This will happen," and we knew it was coming. And that's the most frustrating part of it all. The fact, as Chris stated there in his opening part, the fact that Russell Martin is still in a job is nothing short of negligence as for a football club. We're at a stage now where the damage is almost it's beyond repair for what he's done and what he's doing to our club, to a level that we've not seen for years. And I know we've had managers who've done, things that have caused us grief. We've had Michael Beale's spending, and we've had, probably not to the level of the Spivs who were actively trying to kill us, but we've now got a manager who, after 11 games, hasn't won a league game, has given us an absolute humiliation in Europe, to the point of something that we've never seen, not even during the 90s when we were getting torn apart by Juventus and Ajax and Borussia Dortmund and, the best teams on the continent. We get absolutely humiliated. We've got a team that he himself has admitted is anxious to play at Ibrox. You've got a team assembled and we spent £25 million on anxious players. Are you genuinely, and I know we're a family show, so I'm going to keep it PG, but really, is that the stage that we're at? 11 games in, and we're at a point where, and I know we'll go on it again, but we're at a point where the highlight so far is the fact that we didn't get beat off Celtic and we tried a bit. That's all he's got to hang on, is the fact that we tried a wee bit against Celtic in a game that we didn't even get a shot on target. That's the pinnacle of it, and that's unacceptable. Simply, it's unacceptable.
Aye, definitely. Chris, I'll come to you, mate. Same question. What's your thoughts and feelings and anything you want to get off your chest?
I think, Scott, like we've said this now for a few weeks. It's 5 weeks too late, in my opinion, where we're at just now. And it's, if he keeps going to next week, it's 6 weeks too late at that point in time. People must think this is easy to come on and criticise this club, and it's not. We don't want to be doing that. This is a club. This is a club that we watch day in, day out, week in, week out, and we don't want to be sitting here criticising. We don't want to be in this position where we're saying that Rangers aren't good enough at the moment and the management team aren't good enough, because everybody here and every Rangers fan out there wants to have a manager that is going to be there for the long term. Sorry, the dog's just barking. Apologies. We'll get situations with Rangers that, for me, we all knew was coming. We seen this coming at the start of the season. We knew that. Did we think it would be this bad? Absolutely not. But we knew it was coming, something of this magnitude, and it's just getting worse. And I think, as I said earlier on, the board, for me, every minute longer he's here, is just sheer incompetence from the board. And the way I look at it at the moment is Rangers Football Club have got the biggest decision they've ever made in their hands at this moment in time. And I think that's mental to say it, because it feels that every time we put a new manager in, it's always the next biggest decision. This, for me, is the biggest decision Rangers will make in the next 20 years, because depending on who they bring in next and what they do next with this manager is going to set the scene for how things are in years to come. And I just don't think, to your point earlier, Scotty, what you mentioned in terms of the Patrick Stewarts and things, I don't put a trust in Stewart, Thelwell or Purdy as the senior leadership team at Ibrox to make a decision on who they can bring in to Ibrox at the minute, because I just think they'll revert to type and they'll go for someone they know. We'll get into it later, I'm sure, in terms of the candidates and stuff like that. The only person for me that I would be suitable for Rangers at this moment in time, somebody that's going to make it hard to beat, and maybe that's something they'll look at. I think you've got to be looking at somebody like Sean Dyche as somebody who would make Rangers hard to beat. And I think if Thelwell's had that relationship with him previously, maybe that's the guy you look at. But would we trust Thelwell to even make that decision at the moment? I think that's the hardest thing. The other thing I would say is I was at Ibrox yesterday. I go with my boy, he's 11 years old, and he said to me, walking out of the stadium, it was the worst feeling he's had as a Rangers fan. And the time he's been there, Scotty, since he was 4, watching Rangers as a season ticket holder. And that tells me when an 11-year-old is turned off by it and doesn't want to watch Rangers, that tells you everything you need to know. We were at my boys' game yesterday. St Andrews Boys Club were playing yesterday and they won 4-0. And I tell you, see the two coaches that run that team, I would have them at Ibrox in a minute, because those guys know how to set up a team and play football and win games of football better than what Russell Martin does at the moment. And I hate saying that. I hate saying that Martin's not the guy, but he's just not doing anything for Rangers just now. And for me, every minute longer is a minute wasted for Rangers. And it's hard to say that, because we all love Rangers. We all want Rangers to do well. And look, this doesn't come from a place of saying we're better than everybody, we should be up at the top end of the table. That's not what this is about. That's not the arrogance on it. What we're saying here is we want to see something. And even if it was attractive football and actually a will to win, nobody would be challenging positions at the moment. We would say we know where this is going. The challenge for Rangers fans at the moment is nobody knows where this is going. The only way we can see this is going is backwards, and it's going backwards every week. And I think, Scotty, that's where my concern lies with Rangers at this moment, mate.
All very good points, mate. All very good points. Stu, I'm going to come to you. Same question, mate. Thoughts and feelings towards just the club in general, Russell Martin, the lot. Get it off your chest.
But I think Chris pretty much summed up potentially like how every Rangers fans feeling just now. It's just terrible at the moment. It really is. And I ended up being a bit kind of reflective on it all. When you think about we've as a support have been through like crap times. I mean, we've watched Rangers play an Athletic in the 3rd division, but it was still good to watch. It was still kind of gripping. You know what I mean? I remember being very behind the team, and we're on this journey on the way back. So it was good. It was easy to support. It was something to get behind. Even you think about the Gerrard era, his main criticism was he won 1 trophy in 9. But even when we weren't winning the league, we were close. We were getting there. It was a great team to watch. I thought the Gerrard era was excellent, despite the fact, again, we only got 1 trophy. But it was still something to get behind. You supported Gerrard. You liked the way he conducted himself, carried himself, set the team up. The players that were there, you remember them all. Martin, it's just nothing, man. It's terrible. It is absolutely terrible to watch, and it's hard to even get behind it. It's just like you're giving up your time, your money to go and support the team and stuff like that, and it is just, I don't know where we are. I just don't know. But it's like you're kind of watching, like we kind of holding on, like you're waiting for the worst. You know the worst is going to come. You know we're not going to win. You know we're going to get beat. The guys were saying he can't believe he's still here. Do you know what? See, after that yesterday, I said to my mate, do you know what? You'll not get sacked. You'll still be here. Nothing's going to happen after this result. And it's just so frustrating. It's infuriating. Bad times.
Ryan, on to you, mate.
Apologies, my connection's not great. I think my internet's not running particularly well, so hopefully you can hear me all right. I need to excuse my language on this, but I'm just severely pissed off with it. I went from a situation where last season I thought it couldn't get any worse. We were sitting there, and the amount of times I said under Clement, when did this become no longer acceptable to the board? At what point did these level performances be no longer acceptable? And I'm finding myself within 6 months saying exactly the same again. At what point do we pull the pin and get rid of this idiot? He's hopeless beyond belief. Nobody backs him. The only people that back him are the people that employ him. And it's like a slap in the face to us. It's like, we don't matter. And the interview he gave yesterday after the game, talking about anxiety and pressure, it's a thinly veiled kick at us. It's basically blaming us, because he says the players can do it in training, but it's almost as if as soon as they come out in front of us, we put all the pressure. So is it our fault they're not performing? Is it our fault they're not winning? You know, you're okay, you're doing your job properly, but it's our fault. Which is, don't ever take on the Rangers fans, because you'll no win. It's as simple as that, mate. You're out of time. You shouldn't even have been here in the first place. We spoke about this on Friday night, Scotty, when I basically was beside myself when he was announced as the Rangers manager. I was quite happy with either Ancelotti or Gerrard. I was excited for them both. And somehow, somewhere, Thelwell and Stewart and all the guys on the recruitment side, there was another guy involved with his name, Steinson or something like that. He was apparently scouting all over Europe looking for the best manager for this. Between those guys, they've made a complete and utter arse of this. A complete and utter arse. Martin's got to go. His entire coaching team's got to go. One of the guys, I think it was Williamson, got chased out of Carlisle because he was that bad as well. And the Carlisle fans were warning the Rangers fans, by the way, he's absolutely hopeless. We can't believe he's got a job with you, because he was that bad for us that we binned him rapidly. They've got to go, first of all. We've got to stabilise the ship and get somebody in. I'll disagree with Chris that I don't think Sean Dyche is the guy for it. He's, we've got, complex. We get games coming up in European football, and that's where we make our mark. That's where we make our reputation. And Sean Dyche, from my understanding, doesn't have any reputation or any knowledge or experience of European football. We need to steady the ship. And I'm going to mention Steven Gerrard, and I know I mention Steven Gerrard all the time, and I'm the Steven Gerrard president, fan club, whatever you want to call it, right? We look at the situation we're in just now with Le Guen. We appointed Le Guen. It was a shit show. It was a horror show. David Murray even admitted himself it was a mistake. I shouldn't have appointed Paul Le Guen, and I get rid of him quickly. But you look at the situation with Le Guen and Ferguson, and compare it to Raskin and Martin. There's only going to be one winner in that situation. Ferguson was the captain of the club. He was the best player at the club at the time, and player power won at that situation. We had to reach out for a steady hand, a guy that knew the club, and at that point we could only trust Walter Smith to come back. We can't trust, there's mention here of Papson, there's mention of Nuno Santos, there's mention that we can't rely on another foreigner to come in and take this over. It's untrusted territory. We can't rely on a project manager, somebody like Ancelotti. We need a steady hand, a guy who's going to come in, who knows the club, who will get things up to speed very quickly, who has the respect to the players, who has the respect to the staff, who has the respect to the fans. is Steven Gerrard, in my opinion, is the only guy who is currently available and qualified to be able to take this job on. And I don't care about what people say that he did a crap job at Aston Villa. No, he didn't. Aston Villa 2 years later were a Champions League quarter-final team. I don't care what people say about going out to Saudi Arabia and doing a crap job there. If you think Steven Gerrard did a crap job in Saudi Arabia, you don't know about football, you need to go and watch mine Scotty's interview with the Saudi Arabian journalist that we did. It's in the channel here somewhere. You need to listen to what this guy says because he's a qualified professional and he says Steven Gerrard did not do a crap job. He's the only guy that can come and do this. And I know Paul's mentioned he can't come to Christmas, so I'm assuming you're talking something about a tax bill. Don't care about tax. There's money in the bank. We've not spent our budget. We've only spent £20 million according to net. We sold Hans Eigenmann for £10 million. We sold Jeffy for £6 million. There's money in Ibrox somewhere. If we need to sell the state, we need to sell the naming rights to the stadium just so we get the money to pay Gerrard's tax bill. I don't care. I don't care. This has to stop, right? We need somebody in that's going to stop the rot because this is not going to end nicely. There's still time at this moment in time we can salvage our season. The championship is not done. There's a good possibility. I don't even know what the score is with them, but if you told me they were losing, it wouldn't surprise me. We can still win this league. We can still put a dent in Europe. We can still go next week and beat Hibs and get ourselves a semi-final at Hampden. This needs to stop, and it needs to stop today, now. There is no time. There is no time. It's out of time. Shouldn't even be, as I said, should never have been here in the first place. It's a shambles. They need to make. They need to admit they've made a mistake, and they need to fix it and fix it quickly.
Well said, Ryan. I thought the four of you guys put your points across very, very well, considering the situation and how we're all feeling today. So well done, each and every one of these. Ross, I'm going to come to you next. The next phase on this is obviously it's just a waiting game before Russell Martin decides to either bow out or is sacked. This isn't going to go any other way. I think it's unanimous across the pod today that it's just a waiting game now. The board have come out and backed him. So do we want to? What do you want to speak about? Do you want to speak about the board backing him, or do you want to speak about how to fix this going forward? Who's next for you? Take your pick, mate.
I mean, those things are probably kind of hand in hand because you can't start fixing it until you remove the problem, and you know it's a little bit of a difficult scenario. One thing I don't think we can emphasise enough is you're talking about the board and how the board are choosing to back him. Again, bearing in mind that a week ago, Kevin Thelwell done an interview with RTV, a 20-minute interview with RTV, talking about how Russell Martin was the best coach he's ever worked under. That is a serious red flag for me. And I understand it's club media, and I understand club media's got to be biased, and that's fine. But if Kevin Thelwell, after all the time that he's worked in football, the pinnacle of the guys that he's worked with is Russell Martin, then he's not remotely qualified. That sentence alone proves that he's not remotely qualified to be running the football operations at a club like Rangers Football Club. Simple as that. That is a serious red flag. And it's a conversation we've had, and it's a conversation we will continue to have, that if that's the case, he's the guy that's going to be put in place to lead the search for a new manager, then we're just going to be back to square one again. Because if he thinks that Russell Martin is the best guy for the job, which, if conjectures to be believed that they had 6 or 7 interviews to get the job, if that's what we're going to wind up with, then we are so far up S Creek without a paddle, it's unbelievable. The one thing I will say, and you're talking about there, that everybody's across the pod is in unison. I think the one thing that Russell Martin's done is united the entire support. Genuinely, and over the last 6 months, we've seen protests, we've seen walkouts, we've seen division within the support against the previous board, against the manager. We can't keep sacking managers. The board are Rangers men. And everybody's entitled to their opinion, and that's okay. And we've learned probably over the last couple of weeks or so that you need to probably listen to people's opinions instead of just dismissing them. But the one thing he has done is he's united the entire support that he is not good enough, and the guys that are employing him are not good enough either. So until those parts are removed as well, I have serious concerns that maybe in 6 months' time or after 100 days, we could be back to square one again. One thing that I can't emphasise enough, and Ryan obviously knows as well, I've disagreed wholeheartedly on Gerrard, and I don't think Gerrard deserved a second chance at Ibrox. I really don't. But the points he makes it incredibly difficult at this moment in time to argue against someone like that. I understand, and I still don't think he's the man, but you can't argue against those points that for the state that we're in at the moment and what we need, that might not be the worst option.
Chris, same question to you, mate.
I think, Scotty, for me, look, Thelwell really, as Ross said, set the alarm bells ringing with that interview a couple of last week. That really, you sat there and you thought to yourself, wow, is this guy being serious when he was talking there? And look, I think the big thing for me is how do we fix this, right? So I'm going to come back to what Ryan was saying, right? And look, just for everyone who's obviously put the comments about Dyche, right? I'm not saying, and I'm not sitting here saying Sean Dyche would be the guy for Rangers going forward. What I'm trying to say, and apologies for that, maybe I'm not wrong. What I'm trying to say is it's a type of play that he plays, which is solid defensively and then builds from there. That's the type of thing we need, I think, going forward. Because right now, anybody who comes to Ibrox right now is walking all over the top of us at this minute, and we're leaking goals like nobody's business. We need to get back to first and foremost being a team who's strong, who can't leak goals, and who builds from that defensive unit. And as we talked about when we were in the situation with Le Guen, the first thing that Walter Smith done when he came in was made Rangers hard to beat. And that's the type of thing we need. It wasn't pretty. We never went out there and in that first 6 months of Walter Smith, we never went out there and beat teams 4-5-0 and stuff. Obviously, first game hitting back was the Dundee United one. We did that. I think it was 5-1 the first one. But after that, it was close games, close affairs, and we were hard to beat. And I think, look, whether it's Dyche or whoever else, right, I don't really care who it is at the minute. As long as somebody can come in and give us that hard to beatness and be a team that's compact and want to go and fight for each other. And really, I'm looking at these players yesterday. Not one of them is there fighting for each other. They're all hiding. I think somebody put a stat up in our chat last night about how much the play was played through the middle, right? And you had everything was going through three men, pretty much your three defenders, and that's where everyone was going through. And then one into the midfield, into the corner Bannon row. And there was nothing else. Nothing else was happening. They weren't coming for each other. They weren't showing for each other. They weren't helping each other. It was mental, absolutely mental. And I think for me, that's where Rangers are in a situation just now where they're too easy to beat. People are not scared of Rangers anymore. Hearts came there yesterday, and that's probably the easiest game they'll ever have against us at Ibrox. And I don't think they'll ever see an easier game again. And that's the point I'm making around. We need somebody who can come in and really put his defensively strong and build from there. Whether that's Gerrard, I'd love Gerrard back at the club. I'd take Gerrard back in a minute. Whether it's Gerrard or whether it's somebody else, as Ryan said, somebody who knows the club and somebody who knows what the club's all about is exactly what we need. I don't think Thelwell and Patrick Stewart's going to be able to do that because they'll revert to type and they'll go with people that they trust and somebody who they think is going to get the job done. And that's not going to sit with the Rangers fans at this minute in time. So for me, I think there's a couple of things there. Look, the players yesterday have to take some of this as well, right? As much as we're talking about Martin and how we want him out, the players are going out there and they've got a mind of their own as well. So they should be putting their own mind in this when they're seeing it's not going right. Rather than turning around and saying, oh, we'll carry out the manager's tactics. They're the ones that are playing it. They're the ones that are seeing it. And that first half yesterday, we keep saying it week in, week out. That first half yesterday was the worst first half I've seen of Rangers in a long, long time. And I thought it couldn't get any worse from what we'd seen at the start of the season. Second half wasn't any better. Yeah, we had 10, 15 minutes to the second half, and you could sit here and argue to come home about refereeing decisions and all that sort of thing. But the players have got to take a massive piece of responsibility as well. And I think at the minute, they have just down tools. They're not playing for Martin. They're not wanting to play for him. And I think any manager coming in there now would get a better tune out of them. My only concern, Scotty, is we constantly keep looking back the way about who was here before and the job they did, right? And I don't think we can keep doing that. I think Rangers need to progress, and you need a manager who is going to be in there for the long haul and really take them forward. The challenge we've got is we just didn't make the right decision with Martin. That's just the fundamental of it. But we need somebody who can come in and really take the club forward and really drive home the standards that we want. And I know it's crazy. We talk about not wearing shirts and ties and stuff, but again, that's all about standards. It's all about standards back at the club. For me, the players itself have to set those standards. Shirt and tie, game day, well, should be the case as well. That's what they should be at home when you're coming into Ibrox and you're showing what Rangers are all about. It's all about setting the standards, and the standards for me have gone. At the moment, whether that's through the hierarchy or through the management team, the standards aren't there anymore. And Rangers really need to get back to the standards. And I think if they can get back to it and the fans can see Rangers trying to progress and trying to make that little bit of a difference. It just brings everything back again. But as Ross said, look, I've never seen the Rangers fan base as united as this before. This is the biggest time I've ever seen that. I think the Rangers fans now, if what we're hearing today is right, which is the board have come out and backed Martin, if this is the case, then the Rangers fans need to do something. Now, I'm not going to sit here and advocate and say we need to do protests or we need to do 12-minute walk-ins and all that sort of thing. I'm not saying that's what we're doing at the moment. But if this board is not going to listen, and this board is not going to take on what the Rangers fans and the main groups are saying, then who are they going to listen to? And the only way they will listen is by action. And the action has to be starting from next week. That game next week against Hibs, I think that'll be one of the lowest attendances you'll see at Ibrox in a long time, because the Rangers fans have had enough if Martin is still there. If he's not there and somebody else comes in, that place will be sold out to the rafters, and we'll back the team and we'll back the club to go forward again. Until he's gone, that's gone from a Rangers point of view at the moment, I think, and you're going to see more protests off the park than what you're going to see within Ibrox at this moment in time.
Stu, thinking back, there's advocates, Rangers on the day insinuating Rangers going pluck Alex McLeish for Hibs. Now, McLeish came in that season, winning the 2 cups, followed by the last time Rangers won a treble, which was 2003. 2 fairly successful years they had. Now, is that not a route that Rangers need to do? Should we not be looking at guys like Steve Robinson at St Mirren? No, we could speak about Derek McInnes. McInnes has went to Hearts. The boat's sailed. He's gone. It looks as if Scotty was right again in terms of appointing somebody. All we need is a manager that knows this bloody league. The league's not hard to win a game in. You just need to set a team up properly. Is that a route that we should go down? Because I think we've done every other bloody route.
I think absolutely. And I think you've kind of succinctly kind of summed up where I was maybe going to comment there, but I think not getting Derek McInnes in, we've missed an absolute trick. I'd like to think in the grander scheme of things, we've got a new ownership who are competent, professional, and know how to do things. The board have not kind of covered themselves in glory in terms of the reaction to the critique of Russell Martin and the outrage at Russell Martin. They didn't cover themselves in glory appointing them either. But I'd like to think maybe it is just down to it's been a bad managerial appointment and now we're stuck fighting fires. I think you've summed up perfectly there in terms of we need to look at closer at home who works in this league, who manages in this league, and who's available to, like Chris said earlier on, steady the ship. I think, yeah, absolutely, somebody should be appointed. Stephen Robinson, I think, I don't know, I don't. He is his teams are hard for us to play against. A Stephen Robinson team always seems to be challenging to Rangers in recent history. I don't know if the overall fan base would be delighted with him as an appointment either, though. I don't think I would, although I'm admittedly saying, he does play well against Rangers all the time. But I think holistically, yeah, we need to change our attitude in our approach to managerial appointments. Doesn't need to be somebody who's done it down here or done it there. You just need to pick somebody who's competent and good. And see, to be honest, I think we probably should have let Barry Ferguson and the red, white and blue crew that he'd assembled have a go at it, to be honest. I see your face already, Scott. I think you've done a better job than Russell Martin so far.
Aye, I would agree with that. I'd agree with that. Done a better job. Brian, what's your thoughts? Brian looks as if he's just ready to come on and pace somebody, doesn't he, man?
He looks raging, mate. He looks so angry right now.
I'm sorry, mate. Honestly, I actually need to publicly apologise to everyone on my bus yesterday as well because it was that bad. Honestly, it was ruining my weekend, ruining my life. I'm not going back till he's gone. I've decided I'm not going back till he's gone. You asked me about Barry Ferguson. Is that how you want me?
Barry Ferguson, domestic route. Obviously, if you've mentioned Gerrard, Gerrard's a very good point as well. I think the 3 guys I would be looking to just now, personally, if I was to get asked the question, is we need somebody to come in a la Dyche, Ferguson, Gerrard, Robinson, somebody that can come in and put a bit of standards back into the training to begin with. When his fitter matches, start putting shiny things back in the cabinet for a couple of years before you get doing this route of philosophy managers. Try this philosophy stuff, it's not working. We need some We need some dinosaur tactics again. We need some Walter Smith, like Rangers standards in there to me. What do you think, mate?
I mean, I like Ferguson as a player, and he had a few good results, but he had a couple of shockers as well. But bearing in mind it's somebody else's toolbox that he's trying to fix with, so you've got to understand that as well. So, I mean, I wouldn't have been objected to Barry Ferguson. I've got a lot of respect for the guy. He'd run through a brick wall for Rangers, I'm sure we all know. So, by all means, yes. Is it a right time for him? I don't know. Robinson, I think's digging the well a bit too deep, and I've got respect for the job that he's done at St Mirren. You know, St Mirren have turned into a right difficult team for us to play against, especially at their patch. It's not an easy place to go and get a win, so you have to respect the job he's done there. But is he the guy that's going to come in and take Rangers to the next level? Questionable. So I don't know about that one. But at this moment in time, see if the five guys wanted to have a go at it. I don't think we could do much worse, to be honest with you. It's just getting absolutely brutal. But the first thing we need to do is we need to give him his P45. We need to pack his bags. He needs to get down the road pronto. You know, even his misses, a lot of them, get them all out, because it's honking. All this is doing is costing us money in the long run. And I know everyone's saying, "Oh, we can't afford to. You know, we can't keep sacking managers. Compensation this and compensation that." Right? If we have him as the manager next week and we lose again, we're missing out in a semi-final, potentially a final at Hampden. How much lost revenue is that in gate receipts and TV money, potentially prize money as well? You know, we've seen the amount of money that he's lost as in Hans Egeman. I reckon he's probably taken about £78 million off the value of that boy by the way that he's treated him, publicly coming out saying that he doesn't want to play for the club anymore. I think that just opened up. There was just a fire sale on him. So he's cost his money there. Arguably cost his money not getting the Champions League. Millions and millions of pounds there. Would another guy have come in and actually got us through that tie against Bruges? We'll never know. But we can say for certain that his treatment just now are asking, he's devaluing him. So is that another second player? And if you're losing him, in general terms, regardless of what field you're in, regardless of what job you do, if you lose your employer money, if you're not doing your job properly and you're costing your company money, that's gross misconduct. Regardless of whether we're winning games, the fact that we're winning games is bad enough, but the fact that we're losing games and drawing games and we're also losing revenue at the same time, it's gross misconduct. And the 49ers need to realise that they are losing money, because we've also got to understand the 49ers aren't blue noses. We've not got Davy Murray, we've not got John Bennett and Dougie Park and stuff that are going to reach into their pockets because they love Rangers, because they're Rangers men through and through. These 49ers are businessmen. All they care about is a profit and loss sheet at the end of the season. So we need to make them realise that this is costing us money. And the only way that we personally can do that as fans is to stop going. And I know that's hard for a lot of people because it's what we look forward to. It's our passion. But the only thing that we can do is just to vote with our feet. I'll not be back till he's away. And that's going to kill me. I'm going to tune in and watch it on the TV, and it's going to hurt me with every inch of my soul, not going to Ibrox on a Saturday and every second week, and, you know, booking my flights to go away in Europe and looking forward to going to games that, you know, it will hurt me so much, but I cannot put myself through what I went through on Saturday. I feel like a different person when I'm watching a Russell Martin Rangers team. I don't feel like myself. I feel as if I'm not good to my friends. I feel as if I'm not being nice to my family. I can't be like that. And if that's what that's doing to me, I need to take myself away from it. But that's truly how much this means to me, that I need to take myself away from Rangers at this moment in time. I need to get a distance between me and Russell Martin, because it's ruining my life. And I'm sure I'm not alone when I'm saying that. It's just not acceptable anymore. But if you guys believe Barry Ferguson's the guy to come in and steady the ship, I'm not going to argue with you. I'd be more than happy with that. Robinson, okay, we'll see.
I was just throwing some names out there that could come in, and it's just all about people that know Scottish football. Dyche has got a track record for stabilising clubs and making them hard to beat, which is ultimately, I suppose, what we need right now, because I mean, one of the comments earlier on said 3 passes and we're cut open. Look how easy it was yesterday. Look how easy it's been for anybody. Ross, you've become quite the advocate for Kevin Muscat. Now, is this the time just now for Muscat mania?
I love that other people are using it now. I'm all in. Well, I mean, I would always say yes, because I've always been an advocate of some of the principles that he comes across with, and I've watched a lot of their interviews and stuff with him, and I like the cut of his jib. Obviously, just kind of before I talk about that, I just wanted to kind of maybe throw a thought out there. Is we obviously always all remember Michael Beale showing up in the Loudon and at Ibrox when Gio was under pressure. Is this maybe Bonnie Blue putting him under pressure? I'm just putting that out there to make you think. Like, we've seen it before. There's a track record. Is Bonnie Blue turning up in a blue bus going to be putting Russell Martin under pressure? I don't know.
I'm only taking that if Lana Wolf comes in as number 2. I'm taking it.
Oh, honestly, I'm not even starting. Let's not even get down that road, right? She was out, I think she's in London. Thank God. Maybe let's not talk about that anymore. Muscat, yes, let's talk about Muscat. Let's talk about another big round thing, which is his heat. Yes, listen, and let's be honest, in my head and all, and Chris's head, and we're all follically challenged, right?
Whoa.
Right, so you're the challenge, mate.
I know.
You just can't see it back here, Matt.
Was it you said the fullbacks are playing high? No.
Aye, that needs to come up.
Listen, they're playing high and wide. That's a Gerrard hairline, by the way. No, well, right. So what I like to have in Muscat is people the easy argument to make is that he's an Ange clone, and you're like, that's fair enough, but that worked here. The ideas and the principles of what he wanted in a team worked, because it wasn't just about, relentless attacking. It was about not chucking it. How many times did we concede goals to Celtic by just the players not chucking it? I always remember a goal at Hampden that we conceded because we just stopped playing, play at the whistle. These are basic principles that every manager that we've hired doesn't seem to want to install into players. I think that's something he does do. Whilst I know you don't want to talk about him being, you don't want other foreign managers, I think he's a little bit different because whilst he is obviously Australian, he was born here and he was brought up here and he played a lot of football within, the kind of lower echelons of England, which is closer to what Scottish football still is. It's still a kind of working class game here, if that makes sense. And I still think he's got a lot of that he wants to instill in his teams. And I know we're talking about the reputation of him as a player he was a horrible, forgive me for swearing, he was a horrible bastard as a player who went out to hurt people. He was an animal. He was an absolute animal as a player. The fact that he was at Rangers for a year and he wasn't allowed to play an Old Firm game is, and I understand that, right? But he ticks so many boxes in a manager that I think we need. He does want to play attacking football. He does want to be a bit more relentless. And the things that we were promised from Russell Martin, I think we're more inclined to get from that. The problem before, when he was linked previously, I was sceptical of it because I didn't believe that we had the financial power to give him what he wanted or what we needed. And I was probably perhaps more of the belief that we hired Philippe Clement because he would have been more adaptable to what we had. Whereas if we were going to appoint Kevin Muscat at the time, we would have had to basically rip the whole squad out, and we didn't have the money for it. Whereas I think now we've actually got more of the financial power to be able to give him what he wants. And that's the same. That's the same for a lot of managers. And it'd be the same. It'd be the same for, like I say, for Gerrard. I just don't think that if we were going to do it, we should have done it in summer. Because if I was him, I would tell us to sling a hook. If he'd anywhere with all, I'd tell us to beat it because we're a total poison chalice. And I still think that the support need more of a unifying figure, because I know a lot of people still wouldn't want him based on things like he's an Ange clone or what he's like as a player and blah blah blah. And that's totally fine. Like I say, everything's entitled to their opinion, but we need something completely different. I think we need a strong character, and he's a strong character as a person as well, because he spent years being called this, that, and the next thing, and he's starting to I think he's made a half decent career of being a manager. I understand it's in different leagues, but he's won things other than finishing 4th in England and getting through in the playoffs and stuff like that. So that's why I'm an advocate of it.
No, fair enough. Personally, I think we've got a team now to play. The Russell Martin way. Listen to me, that's what I was about to say before my wee boy started shouting at the hall. He played Kevin Muscat way. We've got fast wingers. We've got fullbacks. I mean, Max Aarons and Magoma would bring pace to fullback areas. Tav can invert and play make. We've got a good team there. It's just getting the right guy to pull it out. Chris, what about you? Have you get what about Muscat? Mourinho? These are all names that are going to come up.
I think, Scott, if I'm honest, I think Mourinho is pie in the sky for Rangers, if I'm honest. He's never going to come, right? Let's be honest, that he's not going to be here. I think some of the names that have been said are pie in the sky, and I think some of them are are project managers. That's what they're going to end up being. And look, I think we've said it, and I think Rangers do need somebody who's going to stabilise it. Look, let me go back 6-7 months ago, Scotty, right? February, Clement, let's let go, and Barry Ferguson and Co came in, right? I'll be honest with you, I was Barry Ferguson's biggest fan when he came into Rangers. I thought he'll bring the heart, the desire, the fight, the willingness from a Rangers team again. And I think we've seen that in spades. At certain times we got that. I'll give you a couple of games. The Fenerbahce one, the Celtic game, the games away against Dundee, the game away against Kilmarnock. When we come back and you've seen the fight for Rangers, you come back. Nobody's saying to me here right now that that's not a better team that we've got now compared to what Barry first came in with when he had to deal with back then, right? We talk about the players and the style and can these players play in a certain way. You could have any manager in there just now and they play in a much better way than what Rangers are playing just now under Martin. So I don't think the issue is getting a manager who can come in and be all fancy. These players will play, and if you give them the basic tactics, they'll take it on board and they'll go with it. I would love to see, as people call it, Rangers men in the dugout. That's what I would love to see, right? Now, if that's Ferguson, I'll be honest, obviously, after what happened and stuff like that, you look and you say, was the right man? This is a guy who went over to Fenerbahce and outclassed Mourinho over there. Okay, we got done in when we came home, but he outclassed him over there. He's went to Parkhead and he's got 3 points that Beale and Clement didn't get when they were Rangers managers, and he managed to get the win that we needed. He came to Ibrox. We drew nothing each with him at Ibrox as well. I would take Barry and Co all day long at the minute. Now, when I'm saying Barry and Co, I wouldn't be saying your Neil McCanns, your Billy Dodds and stuff. For me, I think what you need to have in there is Kevin Thompson and Stephen Davis. I think that should be your three if you're looking at it. I think those guys would take Rangers forward just now, short term, maybe the next 12 months, 24 months. I'm not talking 5-6 years down the line. I'm talking just something steady at the moment. I can't remember if it was Ross or Ryan that said it. Somebody to get the shiny stuff back in the trophy cabinet again and to bring a bit of heart and desire back in. The only problem I think you've got at the moment as Rangers is the way they treated Ferguson towards the end of it from a manager point of view. I don't know whether Ferguson would want to go back in there again and go and try that again, because he would need to have some reassurances, I think. I don't think he could walk in for a 3-4 month period and think everything's okay. He's going to need a period of time. And I think, as I said earlier on at the start of the show, this for me is probably the most important decision Rangers are going to make just now. Now, they either need to make a decision which is longer term and say, look, the next manager we're going to go with is going to be in there for X number of months or years, whatever, and we're sticking with it. Or we're going to bring somebody in to steady the ship for the next 12, 24 months. We'll see what happens during that and we can go from there. You can see some of the comments that are coming in around the Ferguson situation. I think Barry Ferguson, as much as the fans realise he's not the all singing, all dancing manager you want, he would probably get a lot of the backing from the Rangers fans, providing he brings in the right guys with him. And I think you're not going to go wrong with Kevin Thompson and Stephen Davis. I think they would be really, really important guys to come in. I think the players that are there are much better than what you had previously. I think the Rangers players at the moment are needing that figurehead, the one that can take the pressure off them a little bit. Martin's not doing that in the press conference. If anything, he's putting the pressure back on. Someone said it in the comments, Scott, earlier on. What we're hearing from Martin at the moment about anxiety and stuff about how he's putting it back. I think it was Ryan said putting it back on the Rangers fans. He'd done the exact same at Southampton. He'd done the exact same at MK Dons, and he'd done the exact same at Swansea as well. He came out and he said 3 occasions, anxiety and psychological for the players. He's just rehashing the same old nonsense every time. And the problem that's going to have is that is getting put back onto the players. And we don't have the figurehead who can take the pressure off them a little bit at the moment. We need somebody who can come in and who's got the knowledge and the whereabouts of Rangers to be able to come in and say, we know it's going to be pressurised, we're going to take that back and we're going to take it off them. And you'll start to see the Rangers players play. And right now, my biggest issue is if you bring a manager like some of the ones that have been said, Marco Rose or whoever, they're all just project appointments that don't understand Scottish football. And we're all saying that we need... This is the big thing, Scott. We're all saying we need somebody who knows Scottish football, right? But as soon as we start putting names in like Robinson or McInnes or Ferguson or whatever, we start turning our nose up at it. Why? As Rangers fans right now, we should be turning around and saying, this is who we need in here. This is not, maybe not who we want in here right now, but it's probably what we need at the minute. And we need to get these guys in order to stabilise the team. Otherwise, if we do not stabilise this team, 10th position is where we are just now. See, in 3 months' time, when it gets to January, February, and we've got Europa League in there and all the distractions of that, I wouldn't be surprised if second as the bottom 6 is where we're going to be sitting about if you keep this guy in there, right? Because that's where we're ending up. That's where we're going to be. And look, I'd love Gerrard. I think, as Ryan said, he was somebody I would take back in a minute. But I just don't realistically think we're going to get him. I think if we were going to get him, he would have been here before now. So for me, Ferguson in there with the 3 guys I've mentioned, the 2 guys I mentioned, Thompson and Davis, and then whoever else you want to make up your backroom team of that. Bring them in, get them in there, give them some reassurances, give them some money to spend in January, get that little bit of core Scottishness back in the team again, which they said they were going to do. Let's see how it goes from there. And look, get behind it for the rest of the season. If we keep with Martin, we're not going to get behind it. And look, it's season over as it stands at the moment if Martin's in there. So we need somebody like Ferguson. Look, if it's not Ferguson, I would say in the comments, somebody give us a name that they think is good enough to come in and do it. Not a project manager, but somebody who's going to come in and play that steadiness and get us through would be what I'd be asking. And then we can take it from there, because that's the type of person I think we need at the moment. And I think 90% of the Rangers fans would take that just now in order to get us back on steady footing, start winning football matches, start getting into semi-finals and finals again, and then see where it takes us from there. And look, if that doesn't happen and it sticks where we're at, 12 months time we're going to be sitting here saying that was the worst decision Rangers made by keeping Martin in their job, because it's not going to get any better from now. If anything, he's going to keep blaming the players. He's going to turn it on the fans like he started doing yesterday in that press conference yesterday. The only thing I would say, Scotty, just finally to add on to this, when you watch that press conference yesterday, that's the biggest feeling I've had, where he knew his game was up at that point in time, and he knew that was it, it was done for him. The fact that the board have came out and backed him again today, for me, tells me that something serious is going on behind the scenes, because that's a guy he's a dead man walking, who knows that, and he knew that in the press conference yesterday, and that's why he started turning on the fans. His comment about the fans didn't want him here in the first place, that's him turning on us. That's him trying to put this, as Ryan said earlier on, back on the fans, and that's not acceptable. 100%. So for me, the fact he's still there, I'm stunned at it today. But I think if the Rangers fans put that pressure on over the next few days, will he be there on Saturday? That's a 50-50 for me at the moment. I don't know if he will be. The main thing is who is going to be there on Saturday, because you can't give it to one of his backroom staff to take it on. That's just not possible. And we don't want to be in the same position when Gio came in. We end up giving it to the youth coaches, and look what happened against Hibs at that point in time. You need to bring in a management team who's going to be there from Hibs game onwards, basically, to try and get this. And we've not got a lot of time to do it. So this next few days is going to be interesting to see what happens with the management, or whether they stick with the guy that's there just now.
100%, mate. And Ryan, in terms of who's going to be there on Saturday, so say the dream scenario comes out and Russell Martin does get backed, and what route do we get down? Do we just go out, ask Gerrard, bring him in full time, and give him a contract, 2 years, whatever he wants, or can you see a club can do the interim route to be do another search? Now, for me, Gerrard's the one. He's the only one that's free and available on the market just now that could fly in tomorrow, and probably I don't know if he's still got his house, but he'll still have digs in the area. Do you know what I mean? That he could just come in and take over, not more or less pick up where he left off, but he'll know what's required. So my question to you would be: is it going to be an interim basis, or are we just going to finally give the right guy the job?
I think you have to. I think you need to get this. We've not had a great track history. I think Chris was saying come on to get back to, was it February, March time? And they didn't appoint Martin till 15th of June, if I'm right in saying 15th of June, I think it was. So, all these rounds and rounds of interviews and questions and stuff like that, they've got to make a decision. They've got to make a decision quickly. So, I think Gerrard will make himself available pretty quickly to do it. I think you get a team together pretty quickly of guys that would do it. I think Gary McAllister would come back with him. I think he'd be interested in coming back and working at Ibrox again. See, there's Tim Culkin as well, the guy TC that they used to have. Alan McGregor would certainly step in as a goalkeeping coach for him, I'm sure. So there'll be guys willing and available to come and work with him. And we don't even need to sack Russell Martin. Everyone's talking about it would cost too much money to get rid of him. Just tell him don't come to work tomorrow. Keep him on payroll. Just tell him he doesn't need to come to work anymore. You just relieve him in his duties. Just put him on garden leave until such time as that we decide, and until such time as that the money makes sense to take him off of payroll. Just leave him on payroll and keep paying him. Doesn't mean he naturally needs to be in charge of the team. You can just tell him, like, go and sit in the house somewhere. No, we're not interested in you having been relieved of your duties. We're no sacking you, but you don't need to come to work anymore. So if that makes sense financially for it, as far as financial fair play and all that kind of stuff's concerned, fine. Whatever it takes. I'd be worried that if it did, because like I said a few minutes ago, I do believe the season is still salvageable. I've always said that we need to get ourselves to 95 points to win the league. If we get ourselves to 95 points, there's a possibility, and more often than not, that's good enough form for you to win a league. There's 114 points to play for at this moment in time. I think we've dropped 11. So, and that's me saying 95 points on the assumption the other side of the city's doing really well, which obviously we can all see. There's a bin fire going on over there at this moment in time as well. So it's still salvageable. We've still got a decent European campaign to play. And, we're looking at the draw and we're looking at the way the fixtures are working out for us. The European draw is actually quite favourable for us. It's certainly easier. The European games that we've got this season are a hell of a lot easier than the European games we got last season, and we managed to get to the quarterfinals and that. So there's no reason we can't be aspiring to at least the quarterfinals again, if not slightly better. Let's go around further. Let's look further than that. But we can't do it with this guy, because this guy at this moment of time we don't think he can beat Hibs in the Cup at Ibrox. We're terrified of going away to Livingston and playing a Paisley Park. So how do we think we're going to go and get results in Sturm Graz? How do we think we're going to go to Porto in the last game potentially for a qualified? So we need to move this on and move this on quickly. But if they eventually do feel the pressure that much and they do pull the trigger, I don't think they've got the savvy. I don't think they've got the wherewithal to go in straight away and get a permanent manager. I think they'll piss about there, and you probably wouldn't see a permanent manager until Christmas, at which point in time, where are we going to be landing league-wise? Chris is talking about potentially sitting in the bottom six. There's actually an algorithm that unfortunately I had to work out just for my own satisfaction. See, by the time that Rangers play Livingston in the league next time round, see if Dundee and Aberdeen pick up 4 points of their next 2 league games, we're going to be sitting bottom of the league by the time we go away to Livingston on 1 point, or 4 points, sorry. That's, for me, that's complete. A situation where we're coming up to October time, we're thinking we should be challenged. If we're looking to say, right, how many games, we should be thinking we're top of it. We could potentially be sitting bottom of the freaking league. Bottom of the league. That is, in this day and age in Rangers, that is unheard of and unacceptable. So it might still go to there, because they might lose in the cup and they might still know we're keeping them. They lose to Genk. Just at what point do you look at it and say, mate, this is a joke, you need to go?
I know, mate, I know. Right, I'm going to need to bow out. I think Ross is going to take over to finish the pod off, thankfully. I need to bow out. I've got stuff I need to go and do. So, lads, thank you for joining me. If you're new to the channel, please head on over to our YouTube, like, subscribe. If you're watching on Facebook, smash that like button too. I think we've actually got a good few tuned in on Facebook, which is pretty good. So hit that like button for us, and I will see you all over the course of the week. Right, lads, cheers.
Right, obviously, Ryan, honest to God, you're so passionate, and I genuinely don't think anybody will disagree with what you say. Or wholeheartedly, I think I can't agree with you more on Rangers. Is totally depressing life it is at the moment.
It just comes to me. I follow the team. I was in Bruges. Like, you were booked to go yourself, mate. Like, I don't question anyone's passionate thing, but it's so hard when you're actually doing the yards and you're actually putting your own money in and you're spending your own time and giving up things like, time with your family, time where you could be doing other things, and this is what you do. I think there was one that was Stuart Hay put a thing up on his Instagram about he'd travelled down in the bus with Oswald's, and it was an 18-hour bus journey. It was time in a ferry, this, that, the next thing. He talked about how much travel he'd done, and he came back by flight, train, flights back from Amsterdam and stuff, how much money it cost him. And he said, the Rangers gave me 5 minutes of that time. And when you're seeing stuff like that, it brings it home like, Why are we doing this? Why are we putting in so much of our own money, and much of our own time, and much of our own energy? And quite clearly, they couldn't give a monkey's buzz.
They quite simply could. It was actually just when you bring it up, I had went to Athens, and that's the first time I'd ever been abroad to watch Rangers, and even the effort for that one game alone. And I'm like, there's guys like yourself that go everywhere, rain, hail, or shine, planes, trains, automobiles. And I think something I think we need to obviously understand, people need to understand as well, is that we don't go expecting to win, because nothing's a guarantee in football, and we understand that, especially at this stage where we've appointed a new manager and there's everything's completely brand new and fresh, and things take time, and we totally understand that. But the issues that I have, and I think obviously, I don't know if you'll agree with me or not, is that we've seen nothing. We've seen absolutely nothing to cling on to. When Russell Martin was appointed, we were told we were going to get high intensity, we were going to get high attacking, we were going to get anything. We're going to get something like that. We've not had anything at all. We're so predictable. In the first half yesterday, how many times did we watch the same thing going, we're going to pass the ball in the back and then going to get the ball to Mikey Moore. He's going to run into 3 guys and we'll get the ball away. And that was it. That was the tactic in the first half. Do you know what I mean? And it's absolute embarrassment, and there's absolutely no excuse for it at this point in time. And that's down to the coaching. And I know we're talking about the players, and the players have got to take a hell of a lot of responsibility for it as well. Ryan, sorry, you want to say something?
No, I mean, I was just giving a wee thumbs up to Martin. He was mentioning about the boys that come across from Northern Ireland and stuff like that, how much money they put in. And the expense bit, and we're talking about putting money in to go away in Europe. They come across every second week, mate, and the expense and the time that they go to up at 3 a.m. sometimes to do it. And I'm complaining about coming from the west of Scotland, so no, I completely get it. I totally understand it, and I respect every single one of them.
100%. Those boys, the miles that they put in every week, because, and we all do it regardless of where you come from. I stay a 15-minute drive for Ibrox, but we all do it for the same reason, because we love Rangers. The reason we do this is because we love Rangers. And the problem is at the moment is that the people who've got the opportunity to make decisions don't love Rangers the way we do. Stuart, you're obviously rough as a badger's tadger, and been quiet and probably just having to process everything that's going on. We'll obviously kind of try and wrap up with it, but I'm going to ask you a question. Where do we go from here? If Russell Martin's not sacked, which we're led to believe at the moment isn't going to be the case, we're told that he's going to be in charge for Saturday. Where do we go? And without sounding like a cliche, it's come into the Mick McCarthy meme. It can't go on like this, can it?
No, it certainly can't. Do you know, in short, like, I don't know, man. It's deeply like troubling because, like, as I said, the board seem to be backing him, and he's absolutely just orchestrating a car crash every week, and you're watching through like through your fingers, like, oh God, this is going to happen. This is good, and it happens. Like the worst, you think of the worst possible thing that's going to happen, and it happens. And he's in charge of it, and he's leading it, and he's promoting it, and he's unapologetic about it as well. It's never his fault either. Probably more worrying is, like, if we do like pull the trigger on him. I know we've talked about potential candidates, but who in their right mind would come in right now to take over this with no autonomy over, like, the team at this point? Because the team is the team until January, and I really kind of rate January as a transfer window, because I don't think you really ever do great business in it. You're maybe just kind of plastering over cracks. You don't really have any kind of forward planning that's going to sustainably fix an issue. I don't think personally. I know people disagree, but who's going to put their name to this right now? Because people say the league's over. We're probably going to get put out of the cup against Hibs. Who's going to put their reputation on coming in to try and fix this? Because it's a disaster at the moment. I'm just worried about it. I don't know. I just kind of look at it quite worriedly. I think a managerial change and appointment is going to be so difficult at this stage.
It is. We're going to wrap it up, but I'm going to give you one final question before we go. Chris, you're Andrew Kavanagh, and you're flying in from the good old US of A this week, if we're led to believe it's going to be meetings and stuff this week. What do you do? Do you sack him? Do you put him in garden leave, and do you bring in an interim, or do you give it another week and you try and find a more ideal candidate?
Sack him, immediate effect. There's Andrew Kavanagh needs to understand the level of anger that Rangers fans have at the moment, Ross. And look, you touched on it earlier. This isn't us being people expecting to win every week. That's not the case here. All we're expecting from a Rangers team is to get out there, try the hardest, and at least see some progression on the pitch. We're not seeing any of that just now. And Andrew Kavanagh needs to open his eyes, along with Patrick Stewart and Kevin Thelwell, and see the exact same thing. Right? They have to, because at the end of the day, we're not going any further. For me, and look, we'll get hate for this, but I would go hands and knees to Ferguson and go and get a squad in there to take this on. That will galvanise the Rangers fans. It will galvanise the club, and it will get the club back into some sort of way of recognition again. And it will give us a fighting chance on Saturday, because right now, let's be honest, Rangers don't have a fighting chance at the moment under Martin. It's not as much as we might think it's Rangers that are at home and they should be going in and win it. We don't have a fighting chance against Hibs at this moment in time. And anyone who thinks that we're going to go out there and turn Hibs over or get that win, it's delusional at the moment, because we're just not going to do it. And I'm basing that on the fact that we've seen nothing from Martin and his squads over the last 5-6 games, right? That's what I'm basing that on. I think you get someone in there just now, and it can't be, Ross, you asked the question, is it interim? It cannot be interim. Rangers have had enough interims, and it needs to be someone who's going to go in there, get reassurances that says, this is where we're going over the next 12, 24 months. And that's what I'm saying. The decision has to be the most pivotal decision we make as a football club. It's the biggest decision we're going to make at this moment in time. So for me, get Ferguson and co in there, whether that's the same group as it was before or whether it's the new ones that I spoke about earlier. That for me needs to try and at least stabilise this situation and get us away from where we are in the league, and try and get us ahead in some of the cup games and the Europe games and stuff. The other thing for me, Kavanagh has to do, Kavanagh needs to let go of Patrick Stewart. Simple as that. Now, I don't know, people said at the time Patrick Stewart might have been a 49ers appointment because he knew the 49ers were coming in and stuff like that. I don't know if it was a 49ers appointment, if I'm honest. I don't think Patrick Stewart understands Rangers Football Club at all. I really don't. And I think they're looking at it from the point of view of making as much money as they can out of this. Patrick Stewart is not the guy for me. I don't know if it's true. I heard a rumour yesterday he's on holiday this week. I don't know if that's maybe one of the reasons why there's no board meetings or not. I don't know if that is the case, he's on holiday or not. But if he's on holiday at this point in time and this is all going on, serious questions need to be asked, because the most important thing for Rangers at this moment in time is that we need stability, and we don't have that. And that's what I'm saying. If you're going into next week, you need to have someone in there that's going to galvanise this team and get the team forward, because right now we may as well not turning up against Hibs, because we know what's going to happen at Ibrox. And look, they won't get any easier game than what Hearts got yesterday. I think it'll be very, very similar. I think it'll be a very similar approach to how they take it. But they've got players up there who will rip us apart as it currently stands at this moment in time. And unless something drastic happens just now, we're in for a world of trouble. And look, just as the guy said earlier on, for me, the fans deserve so much better at the moment. And when I say deserve so much better, Ross, let me just clarify what I mean by that. We've not really touched on this, but it's something I'm sure we'll touch on during the week. The situation we're asking at the moment at the club, for me, is unbelievable just now, right? And the point I'm touching on here is Russell Martin came out on his press conference on Thursday and said the players, the club, and everyone in the back room know what's happened with the Raskin situation. We're the biggest stakeholder in Rangers Football Club, the fans. And the fans has been the biggest stakeholder, have no clue what the hell's going on there. The fact that they're not willing to tell the fans what's happened, for me, is a dereliction of duty. It really is, because all we're done now at the moment is left guessing. But that tells you how much they treat the Rangers fans, in terms of the fact that we've got our best player who is sitting on a bench or sitting in the stands at a time when we need them most, and nobody can tell us what's going on. And then yesterday, you've got the press conference after the game yesterday, and he's come out and he's talking about the anxiety and the situation the players are facing and how hard it is. Hearts, Motherwell, Dundee have all had overhauls of their squads, and every one of those teams, players have come in and gelled and bettered formations and play the way better than what Rangers have at the moment. That tells me we are getting absolutely led in a merry-go-round by this management team and everyone at Rangers Football Club, and it's not acceptable anymore, especially for those fans who, as Ryan and the guys have said, have paid money to go abroad and watch us, who are coming over from across the water every Saturday and spending hundreds and thousands of pounds over the course of the season. It's not acceptable anymore. And as I said at the very start, and I'll finish it off, Ross, by saying, please don't think this is easy for us to come in here and sit and talk like this, because This is a club that every one of us here and everyone watching and everyone listening absolutely loves. And it's hard for us to come in and do this because it is our club and we don't want to be sitting criticising. But I think all the fan groups, all the media groups, anyone who's got Rangers' best interests at heart have to make this the most prominent week, because if we don't, the board are not going to listen. And we need to speak up as much as we can for them to listen and realise that this is not going to go away anytime soon if Russell Martin's in charge. And I just hope somewhere somebody's got influence over that board to say, look what's going on out there at the minute, look what's happening with the fan base. And somebody then opens their eyes, whether that's Kavanagh, whether it's Patrick Stewart, whether it's Marathi, I don't care who it is. Somebody needs to look at it and say, this is not getting any better anytime soon, and make decisive action and really quickly.
I couldn't agree more. Stuart, your final thoughts there, talking about Patrick Stewart. He's obviously away on his hollybobs in a week where the place is burning to the ground and the guy running the place day to day is lying on a beach in Lanzarote somewhere. That's unacceptable, isn't it?
Absolutely. I didn't actually when Chris said that, that was me hearing that for the first time, and I'm absolutely gobsmacked and dumbfounded that the ship's on fire and the captain's, as you said, away getting a tan. That is just not it's just not how you conduct yourself as a kind of top man at the Rangers. It's unbelievable to hear that. I mean, if it was your own, technically it should be treating it like it's own business. Like if it was either you or any one of us here, you wouldn't be able to sleep at night with what's going on. You need to react, go back, fix, address issues immediately. And he's just, I can't believe he's enjoying himself, all inclusive in that. It's deplorable to hear it, honestly.
It is, but it's probably the most Rangers thing in the world, isn't it? It's the way that we've been for, not even just under this board, and the way that we've been over the last few months. That's the most Rangers thing ever, that it's total Scott Sturt out there and slime a pina colada on a beach somewhere. Ryan, I'll give you the final word. I think one thing that Chris especially has emphasised is that, and we've spoken about it yourself and myself as well, about unity with the support. The support have an opportunity here, like we've probably never had before, to unite on one front. What needs to be done? And I'm only asking your opinion. What can the support do as serious investors in the club? Not in terms of shareholders, but what we put in terms of as we've spoke about, our time and our money and our effort. Can we make a difference, and how do we go about it?
Well, we've got various kind of methods where we've got open and proper lines of communication with the club. We've got I think it's the fans advisory board that will actually sit. They've got an executive position in the club. Club 1872 are still a shareholder, still a major shareholder in the club as well. So we can speak to them. We can speak to the Rangers Supporters Association as well, which is basically, there's a committee there of all Rangers supporters clubs going from all over the country. So we can communicate through that. What we need to do, though, is we need to make sure that we are conducting ourselves properly. We can't be, showing ourselves up. We can't see incidents to what we've seen across the city where we're standing outside the stadium throwing barriers and stuff like that. We've got to remember we're still Rangers and we've still got a reputation to uphold. We still need to conduct ourselves in a proper way and not make fool of ourselves and not leave ourselves open to criticism. And frankly, we don't want to get laughed at. So we've got to do things properly, and we've got to do things, like gentlemen. And I know that's maybe not the most political way of putting it, politically correct way of doing it, but you know what I'm getting at when I say that. I don't think Kavanagh is going to come across here this week and start, pulling triggers, to be honest with you. Kavanagh is a businessman with a background in pharmaceutical and healthcare. That's where he's made his money. He's not a sportsman. He's not, get the knowledge and understanding of it. That's what he's appointed Patrick Stewart for. That's what Patrick Stewart's appointed Kevin Thurlow for. And that's what Kevin Thurlow's appointed Russell Martin for the results. And if Patrick Stewart then, meets with him and says, I think you should sack Kevin Thurlow because he appointed Russell Martin, then he's leaving himself open to criticism as well. And you're basically, you're shitting your own bed, by saying, look, you're admitting mistakes, but it is the right thing to do. But by admitting these mistakes or they're writing their own resignations, Kavanagh is going to take the advice from these guys because these guys are the guys in position. He's the ones that have appointed them. Whether he believes them or not, or whether he gets his own independent advice, which I pray and I hope that he does do. But at this moment in time, I don't see any change. I think it's going to get a lot worse before it gets any better. And that terrifies me because I didn't think it could get any worse than what it was last season. and look where we are today. We're talking about scenarios where it's a possibility that after half a dozen games of the season, Rangers are going to be sitting bottom of the league, which is, for me, unimaginable. So considering how far we've came and considering how far we went down, to get back to where we were, back to where we should have been, where we belonged, to now find ourselves back in a position where we're basically now at a fight to get back to where we belong again, which should never have happened because we were mishandled, mismanaged, and we're now back in the situation where we're being mishandled and mismanaged. And there's only so much we can take, but we just need to try and, as much as we possibly can, keep the heat, talk to each other and talk. And in these circumstances, have it out with your friends, have it out with your family, go down to your social clubs and talk amongst your friends about it because that's cool. But for God's sake, don't do it in daft. Don't be jumping onto the park. Don't be having a go. I seen there was police in the dugout yesterday at the full-time whistle. There was police actually standing beside Russell Martin at the full-time whistle yesterday, which is crazy. It should never get like that. But this is what's been created by the absolute dross and the garbage that's been presented to us. So we just need to make sure we try and position ourselves properly. And hopefully Cavan will come across, realise what's going on. He might go out for a meal during the week. Hopefully he goes to Mr. Sings and Saturday, gets a good word in his ear about it. That's the kind of thing that we're looking for. But we'll wait and see what comes of. But I do have a bad feeling that it is going to get a lot worse before it gets any better.
Well, they say the night is always darkest before the dawn, so we'll try and think about it in that way. One thing I would like to just emphasise before we finish up, on us obviously on a slightly kind of more negative note before we finish, Ryan did speak there about go and speak to people, and obviously today we've learned about the tragic death of Ricky Hatton, obviously a wonderful boxer, like a top British sportsman who, if obviously circumstances have led to the end of his life, and I would like to just emphasise for something that's important to myself and to a lot of the guys here is that if you have any sort of issues, please go and speak to somebody. Don't, like as Ryan said, it's a different circumstance, but please don't do anything daft. Support systems are there available for you. Please go and speak to people and don't do anything. You know, you are appreciated, you're loved, and I can only emphasise and point you in the direction of, you know, the support systems that are available. So please just seek that out there, and that is obviously it's a bit of a negative note to finish, but it's incredibly important, and it's not a stigma, it's not a taboo, and it doesn't make you any weaker in any way, shape or form as a man, as a woman, anything at all. Please go and seek it out. We love you all. But we will finish there. Obviously, apologies, it's a negative note, and it has been a negative pod, but hopefully it's been a bit cathartic and a bit of therapy for the guys and for yourselves as well. I just want to say, first of all, thanks so much to Chris. Chris, top man as always.
Thanks for having us, Ross. Everything you've just said there about Ricky Hatton, I couldn't agree more. Everything you've said, same with Ryan. It's such a shame for the guy and everything he's been through. And look, Ricky Hatton was a legend in the boxing and will always will be. And thoughts and prayers and everything just go with Ricky and his family and everyone who knew him at this time, because such a sad moment. And honestly, I couldn't have said anything better than what you said yourself there, Ross and Ryan. So well done, guys.
Thanks so much. Stu, I hope the hangover's a little bit better now.
I'm getting too old for this. Too old. Maybe a cure.
Never. Absolutely, you've got to have a cure. Can't be hungover if you don't sober up. Ryan, you got to do the money for us.
No, but I'm going to tell you a funny Ricky Hatton story, because I actually had the pleasure of meeting him one time. I was down in a bender with my pal in Blackpool, and he was actually in the last pub that we made to, so I was a bit worse for wear. And Ricky was actually trading at the time. I think he was going back to do maybe a bit of charity boxing or something like that. And he insisted on getting a photograph next to me. And he goes, like, he said, there's usually people that ask you for the photographs. Why do you want a photograph with me? And he said it's because I made him look anorexic. So, and he said he made him look. He says, I want a photograph next to you. You make me look brilliant. I was like, mate, see if you want a world champion boxer, I had to punch your face in for saying that to me. But that was really funny.
Of course, and you've got to take it. And I'm sure that anybody that's ever had the pleasure of meeting him, and anybody that's ever been influenced by him, will obviously have lots of good stories. And like I say, please go and seek the support if you need it. There's no shame in it, and we love you all. We will finish up there. Obviously, the guys will be back tomorrow, 6:30, with the Ibrox channel. We'll be breaking it down a little bit more. We might have had some news by then. I think it's the hope that kills us, but we'll keep our fingers crossed. Again, I just want to say thank you so much to everybody in the comments. Thanks so much to Scotty for hosting and leaving it on me the 10 minutes to go. Had to come in as a substitute, but again, thanks so much to everybody for your comments. If you like what you see, this is the most in-depth free content you will get in Rangers anywhere on the internet for the boys at Rangers Journal. The guys, the media team especially, put so much work in to give you the content you do, and obviously the podders, guys step up 4 or 5 times a week to give you free content. and you won't get anything else like this anywhere on the internet. So, of course, we send our appreciation to the guys out there. And of course, to use the listeners, your comments, your questions, we'll always try and make it a pod for you. This is what it's for you, to vent your feelings and to try and get your opinions across, because we're all Rangers fans and we all want the same thing at the end of the day. Of course, if you like what you see, please give it a like, share, subscribe on YouTube, on Facebook, Twitter, whatever it is. Please, we really, really appreciate that. And of course, remember that every night is your Rangers Journal night, and we'll talk to you again very, very soon. Bye-bye.